Welcome to Lesson 4, Manage Student Work of GUHSD's online course for Google Classroom. In this video for Lesson 4, Manage Student Work, we will take a look at first the assignment overview. We'll then take a look at the grading practices in reference to settings, giving student feedback, and then finally taking a look at the Google Classroom Gradebook. In Lesson 4, students will be able to manage student work, including understanding about the settings, grading, feedback, returning student work, and finally, looking how Google Classroom organizes student work in the Gradebook. Students will demonstrate their learning by discussing how they can apply what they have learned to their own classroom assignments, and evaluating the potential effectiveness of available grading, feedback, and Gradebook tools. The process students will follow is first, watch this video on managing student work. To demonstrate your learning, you'll go through and answer a series of questions reflecting on the information learned in the Explore section. Lastly, you'll complete this table below. Please think about a digital assignment your students have completed and that you have graded. I'd like you to please include a link to that assignment here, shared with GUHSDtech at GUHSD.net. After you learn about creating comment bank responses from the video, I'd like you to think about 3 comment bank responses you could use that will be helpful in giving your students feedback for the selected assignment. You will then follow by reflecting on this activity in a couple questions. When you're finished with all activities in this lesson, please be sure to turn it in to our Google Classroom online course. To get started, let's go to our Google Classroom. Under the Grades section, we notice that all of the assignments that we have assigned to our students are listed here in a gradebook format. On the left column are all of our students. We have 1 student so far. Here it's going to give you class averages. There's a couple different ways we can access assignments and grade them. The first way is within the gradebook itself. If we see an assignment that we want to grade, go ahead and click the assignment linked in the header above. Another way we can grade assignments is simply by going to the Classwork tab. So we can locate the assignment within the Classwork tab, open up the assignment, and click View Assignment. This will take us to the same screen. We notice listed here we're going to have a list of students populated on the left. We have some filter features, so we can sort by last name, first name, or by status. We can select all students, and we can just select simply students who have turned their work in. So we can delineate by turned in or not turned in as well. Notice on the left here, for sample assignment 2, we have 1 student that's turned it in. That student is Eric Brown. He's labeled as turned in. So let's go ahead and let's open up the assignment. When we click the assignment, one of the new features Google Classroom has is it's going to take us to a new grading book window. We can use these arrows here to toggle between students. I only have 1 student, so I can't toggle. Or we could use a drop-down menu. Again, 1 student shows up. A list of students will populate here for your classroom. And again, we can toggle left and right, select next student or select the before student. We notice that the student's work populates in this window here. It defaults to suggesting mode, so we can't edit directly. If you want to start giving feedback to your student in terms of their writing, you can make corrections. So instead of saying, I want to streamline my workflow, because we're in commenting mode, even if you try to edit it, by hitting the backspace, it's actually going to insert a comment automatically for you, and it's going to tell you what the action is. I highlighted this text and I clicked delete. Because I'm in commenting mode, it's going to actually, instead of deleting it for the student on their work, it's going to insert a comment and it's going to say delete, which signifies to that student when they go look back at their work, they should delete this whole thing. I can say okay, or I can reject the suggestion. Again, similarly, if there needs to be a comma before workflow, and after I put a comma, it doesn't insert the comma. What it does is it inserts a comment with the word add, and it puts the comma there, notifying the student that they need to add a comma where the comment is. You can change it to editing if you want to edit directly on here, so you can edit their work directly if you'd like to. The recommendation would possibly be to use suggesting, because although we want to give students suggestions, we want them to do the work to make the corrections. And you could switch to view only if you want to. Now that the student has turned it in, the teacher becomes the owner of the document. The student can no longer access the assignment once they turned it in. We'll talk about a couple options later about how you return work to students and how then they can resubmit it to you. So if we have an assignment here, one thing to think about is if you have students making common mistakes, if you have multiple students making the same mistake, or you have a rubric upon which you're going to use to grade these assignments, one of the nice features on the right side in this column over here is called the comment bank. So if we open our comment bank, we can add to our comment bank. The comment bank is a nice way for you to create a bank of comments that are readily accessible that you can use to comment on students' work. So let's say you're looking for punctuation, for example, in a certain work, or maybe you're looking for certain features, certain keywords. Maybe a comma splice is one thing you're looking for that you see that is an issue with your students' writing. Go ahead and add that. Here's my bank here. And so now when I'm writing here, instead of me highlighting this, having to comment, this is manually, and then typing in comma splice, what I do, I simply highlight, click the comment button, and then I do the hashtag symbol, which is Shift 3. When I do the hashtag symbol, all of my comments come up, and I simply click and comment. And I can do that again, hashtag, and I can go through. So it streamlines my workflow, and it gives students specific feedback based on maybe some objectives that I have set ahead of time. When I grade the student's work, I can assign them a grade. Over here, any private comments, and then I click post. The student's grade is posted here. When I'm all done grading the student's work, I can return it to them. If I have multiple students, I can return multiple submissions at one time. Let's say I have 30 kids in the class and I'm done grading everybody and I'm ready to return everybody's at once. I can do this, or I can return each submission after I grade them. So Eric is done. I'm going to return the submission to him. Student will be notified. It can check any grade that you've left. 78 out of 100. That's the grade. I'm going to return it to them. Notify them of their score. Once we're back in the student work section of this actual assignment, of sample assignment 2, I notice that one is graded. I see a notification here, Eric Brown's is graded. And now, again, I can toggle between graded and ungraded, so the graded will populate. Once I go back to my grades in the gradebook, I notice that the grade is inserted into Eric Brown, sample assignment number 2. And I can change this at any point if I want to. And I can review it if I'd like to. There are a few options to customize your gradebook. If we click the gear icon on the top right and scroll to the bottom, you can set up your gradebook. You can choose a grading system, total points or weighted by category. And down here, just like Infinite Campus, you can add grading categories. You can show overall grade to students as well. So you have a couple options here. This gradebook does not sync with Infinite Campus, so please be sure to let your students know that. Most of the time, teachers are still doing most of their grading in Infinite Campus. This gradebook is not robust enough within Google Classroom to connect to Infinite Campus. They do not sync. So you'll have to make some determinations about how to best use your time.